Hi guys, welcome back to the Knitting Expat Podcast channel. My name is Mina. Welcome. You can find me online most places as Knitting Expat or as Mina Phillip. There's links to everywhere down below in the description box if you are looking to find me online in other places. I design and sell knitting patterns as Knitting Expat Designs. I sell them on Ravelry, also on some are on Etsy, and they're going to be moving over to Payhip. I'll have everything linked down below again so you can find me in all these different places. I am here today to talk about Fluff To Stuff. Now, if you don't know what Fluff To Stuff is, it is a almost year-long event that I am co-hosting along with two of my dear friends, Grace from the Babbles Travelling Yarns podcast and Mars from the Hey Brownberry podcast. And we are all avid knitters and spinners. So Fluff To Stuff is just a year-long, almost year-long event where we are going to endeavour to turn our mountains of fluff and turn them into yarn and spin them into yarn and then turn that yarn into stuff. So that's the whole premise of it. I did host a similar event to this a couple of years ago just with Grace, and we called it Spin and Make Along or SMAL, but Fluff To Stuff sounded a lot more fun. Anyway, there is a video on my channel going over just general rules and like introduction to Fluff To Stuff, how it's going to work, some of the other little things going on alongside with it, and yeah. But I wanted to sit down today at the beginning of this event. So the event, I believe, well, it kicked off on Sunday the 31st of January, like officially. We are doing monthly Zoom events, and so this Sunday the 31st of January was the first one. We've called it our launch Zoom event, but you don't have to take part in the Zoom events to take part in the actual along, as it were. So considering that just happened, I wanted to sit down and do this video. Well, actually, I'm kind of pre-recording this video before the event, but anyway. I wanted to sit down and talk you through some of my plans, ideas and thoughts for this event and things that I want to achieve and try to do during this year. So our main purpose with Fluff To Stuff is to, like I said, encourage us to spin our fluff and turn them into stuff. And what that stuff is totally up to you. There's no real rules or requirements that you have to meet. You just have to turn fibre into yarn into something. And that something can either be knit, crocheted, woven, whatever you can think of to do with yarn you can do. Anyway, so I've amassed a good little collection here. You can't see everything on the camera right now, but I will show you everything. And some of this has really specific like purpose in mind for it, and others are more just I want to spin it because I want to spin it kind of projects. Now the main thing that we're encouraging with Fluff To Stuff is to spin more intentionally, so spin with the intention of a finished project in mind. So a lot of these have that, but I have a couple that are just for fun spins thrown in as well, which is totally fine too. Okay, so where should we start? Okay, we'll start with this one first. This is actually this is fibre by Fully Spun, and Brooke is amazing. I've had the pleasure of meeting her a few times in person now, and she is so lovely. Anyway, so each one of these has 1 ounce of fibre in it. I actually had 2 of like similar colours, and I've kind of just like smushed them into one bag. So this is actually 2 ounces of fibre in here, and they are small little nuggets of fun fibre. Okay, just little nuggety bits of fibre in there. And I've done this before, and I absolutely love spinning these on a drop spindle. They're great because they are small, easy to manage amounts of fibre, and I have this really fun Turkish spindle that I actually really enjoy spinning on. So it just goes together like this, and it's just a little teeny tiny Turkish drop spindle. I actually really enjoy spinning on this more than a regular drop spindle, and I do have a few of those, so I might use some of those as well at some point. But one goal is going to be to spin these 2 ounces on my Turkish spindle. And then I typically actually prefer plying on my wheel, so that's probably what I'll end up doing. But I want to spin the singles on this little spindle. So that's one goal. And then depending on the weight of yarn that I get from it, And I'll probably get something like a sport weight or fingering weight. It depends if I do it as a 2 or a 3 ply. Then I will decide what accessory I will make with it depending on the finished yardage. I may pair it with a different yarn to make something bigger, or do something color work, because I think it would make a really fun sort of like kind of rainbow yarn. So I think I might do it as like a chain ply to keep that color gradient all the way through, and then maybe pair it with like a neutral color to do some color work maybe. So that's one where I'm kind of spinning for the pleasure of spinning it, and just to have like a small spinning project on the side. So that's one thing. Another thing that I enjoyed doing and I was sort of experimenting with was doing some art yarn, and I wanted to experiment with that a little bit more. And I have this really fun art bat. It's a very neutral color, but it's got lots of really fun pops and really fun like add-ins thrown in there as well that would be fun to spin. And yeah, so I just want to experiment with this one. This is an experimental spin for me. Again, don't necessarily have a finished project in mind, but it's really soft. It's definitely a next to skin kind of soft, so depending on how the yarn turns out, I might make it into mittens or a hat, so we'll see. Then I have this blended top. It's Smoky Plum 23 micron merino wool and mulberry silk and bamboo by Spin Giants. It's a UK based fibre dyer prep person. I'm never sure what to call it. This is really lovely to spin. I've spun a sort of green version of this before that went into a different design that I made, but this is again going to be kind of one of those getting into the rhythm of spinning kind of spins, like one of my first spins probably on the wheel, where I want to get into the rhythm of spinning again and things like that. So this is a good one for that. Again, no finished project in mind for this specifically, but like I said, I had quite a break from spinning this last year, so I really want to kind of get my groove back and get into a rhythm with it before I dive into some of the bigger projects that I'm going to get to in a second. So I wanted a few sort of just because spins to begin at the beginning to kind of like get my rhythm going. And then I also, in the same vein, I have this beautiful red fibre. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is Merino and Swapless by John Arvin Textiles. This is their Harvest Hues blend, and this is the pomegranate colorway. So it's just really lovely deep red with bits of black running through it. And my plan is to spin this up, probably aiming for like a sport to DK weight, and then depending on how much yardage I get, I'll probably knit something for Layla out of it, because she's obsessed with red, and I think if I didn't knit her something out of it, she'd be very upset. Or she might just claim the yarn as hers and not let me knit with it, because that has happened before. Anyway, also, I am incredibly fortunate, and I actually have fibre that was dyed and or prepped by my two lovely co-hosts, Grace and Mars, so it seemed only right that I would also spin with their fibre. So first up, I have this Floofy Bloops braid of 80% BFL, 20% silk. It's the Half Moon Bay colourway, and it's this lovely tealy blue to like a chartreusey green gradient, and this is by Grace. So Grace dyed this. So my plan is to, one of two things, I haven't fully decided yet. Either spin this as a gradient and keep it as a gradient, so either splitting it in half, spinning it end to end and then plying it as a 2-ply, or doing it as a chain ply to really keep the colours together, or to do it as a fractal, which I think would also be really fun as well. So, but I do have another fractal project in mind, so I might just keep this one as a gradient to kind of keep things, mix things up a little bit, keep things interesting. So that's the fibre I have from Grace. And then I also have, actually I have quite a few bits of fibre from Mars, but I picked these two out to go together because I thought the colours would go quite nicely. So this one, it's Lincoln, I can't read the labels turned around, it's covered by the Fluff Corriedale and Romney mix, and it's naturally dyed with logwood. So it's this lovely sort of really muted blushy colour. It's hard to see, it's like a muted brown, but it has a bit of a pink undertone to it. So I think that'd be really pretty. And then I thought I'd pair it. There's 2 ounces of this, and there's also 2.2 ounces of this fibre. And this is Rambouillet that was hand dyed by Master's daughter. And she dyed it to look like the earth on a globe. So there's greens, browns and blues. And I kind of thought the 2 together would work really nicely for something. Again, I haven't fully decided on this one. Again, it depends on the yardage I get at the end. But I'm thinking maybe some sort of striped hat or gloves or some sort of accessory for these together. But like I said, I really wanted to spin some fibre from my co-hosts. So I thought it's only fitting that I do that. Then, okay, so we'll move on to the next, because this is one of my 2 main sort of like project aims for this year. So whilst all the other stuff has mostly been, that I've talked about so far, has mostly been either getting into the groove, more experimental, or I haven't fully decided exactly what they're going to be, but I have an idea of what I'm aiming for kind of projects, or I know this is fibre I want to spin right now. This next set of fibres, they're a very specific project in mind for them. So I really wanted to spin for socks this year. I've only successfully spun a 3-ply yarn that was thin enough to use as a standard sock yarn in a pattern for knitting a pair of socks myself only once so far. Every other time I've tried, I've ended up with like a DK weight yarn, which is not what I want for socks. So my goal this year is really to aim to be able to spin my singles thin enough so that when I chain ply it or 3-ply it, I get a yarn that's going to work for socks. So with that in mind, I have 3 braids of fibre pulled out. So I have this one, which is from the Shepherd's Hut here in the UK, and this is a superwash merino nylon blend. So this is probably going to be my first attempt because it's the one that I'm least precious about, I guess. I mean, I love the colours, don't get me wrong, and I know whatever weight it ends up at, I'll be able to use it. And if it does end up as like a DK-ish weight, that's totally fine, because I have quite a few other hand spun yarns in my stash that are around a DK weight in the same sort of colours, so I could group them together for a bigger project. So I don't mind. That's why this is kind of like my trial braid. I then have a braid of Blueface Leicester by Into the World. This is the Mirepoix colorway, and I pulled this one out because it was another braid of BFL by Into the World. That was my only successful sock yarn. So I thought if I've done it once with their fibre and this particular base, then I have hopefully got good luck that I'll be able to replicate it again with this one. And then the last one that I've pulled out, this one for me is a very special skein, because if you know me at all, you will know my love of rainbows. And so this is a sort of like a mirror dyed gradient by Hilltop Cloud, again another UK based fibre dyer. This is 70% superwash cheviot, 15% silk and 15% nylon, and this is one of her sock yarn blends. So even though it has silk in it, it's meant for these braids are meant to be spun as socks. I mean, obviously you can spin it for whatever you want, but you know, the intention is for socks. And they're actually 120 gram braids, so she gives you a bit of extra fibre as well, which is great, so you can have extra length. So what my plan for this is going to be to split it in half at the red section and just spin one half for one sock, one half for the other sock. But this will probably be the last one I'll do. I'll probably do these 2 first to try and really get my technique down, I guess, or get my method of doing it down, and then this will be like my final project for that sock challenge I'm setting myself. Like, sort of, I guess it's kind of a challenge. Sock yarn aim, goal, words, don't have them today. Another sort of just for fun slash I just really love spinning these sort of projects that I've picked out for myself are these Rolags by Felvy Fibers. Now I absolutely, hands down, love spinning her Rolags. Not all Rolags are created equal. I do love spinning from Rolags in general. I find it's a really fun way to spin, and I find it's not necessarily the easiest way for me to get a consistent spin, but it's one of the easiest ways for me to spin a thin yarn is to use a Roleg prep. So I do really love spinning from Rolegs, and so this is the last batch of Rolegs from Fairview Fibres, another UK based dyer that or fibre producer that I have left in my stash, and I've kind of been hoarding it and not wanting to spin it, so I've told myself no, I just need to get on and spin it. So I've put it into the pile of stuff that I want to spin for this Fluff To Stuff, and it's a mix of merino, baby llama and mulberry silk. So I have no idea what this will be when it grows up, once it's spun. Hopefully while I'm spinning, or when I come to spin it, I think with a lot of these, especially the ones where I don't necessarily know what the finished project is going to be, when I actually come to sit down to spin it, I'll probably have a better idea at that point what I want it to be in the end. It's just right now I've just pulled out from my stash the things that I want to spin, not necessarily things that I know exactly what they're going to be 100% of the time, and that's totally fine. The other thing with Fluff To Stuff is it's totally fine to change your mind if you want to. Like, you don't have to, just because you say, oh, I'm going to spin for this sweater, and then if your yarn's not turning out the way you wanted for that sweater, you can totally change your mind and be like, okay, no, it's going to be a shawl now instead. It's fine, doesn't matter. The point is, just turn your fluff into stuff. Like, that's all you have to do. And you don't have to knit up or turn all of your yarn that you spun during this event into stuff either. It's like, there's a fluff element and a stuff element, and do as much of each as you'd like. I hope you're getting the message that this is a fairly relaxed sort of event. So the last project that I have in mind, and this was kind of like a last minute addition to my box of fibre. I literally have a box, it's on the table here. I have this box that I pulled out from our recycling where I've been storing all of this fluff. So actually I'll just start putting them back in there right now while I talk. So this last set of fibre that I pulled out is kind of a last minute addition. I was just thinking about it this morning and added it to my box. And mainly because, again, it's fibre that I've kind of just been hoarding. And I'm trying to not do that so much and not just hoard the fibre. I'm like, there's always more fibre in the world, just like there's always more yarn in the world. And you don't have to just hoard all the time. So with that in mind, I pulled out these two bundles of rainbow fibre. Again, I'm nothing if not consistently on brand. By Spin Jones, and this was actually my Christmas present from Layla last Christmas, so not 2020 but 2019, and so I've been hoarding it ever since, and it's really lovely. I really love her her fibre prep. This is again 23 micron merino wool and mulberry silk. I really love spinning this blend by her. It spins nice and fine. And I'm planning on doing this as a fractal, so one ply, so one of these is going to be just spun end to end, like one colour at a time all the way through, and the other one I'm still going to break it up into 3 or 4 sections and do almost like a striping repeat of the colours and then apply them together to create a fractal. I've done a couple of spinning vlog videos on this channel on how I prep and spin for a fractal, so if you actually go to the playlist tab, there'll be a playlist for spinning vlogs and you'll find it under there. If I remember, I will link that playlist below this video so you can go directly to the link in the description box. And then to go with it, I'm thinking of separately spinning this Polworth yarn by John Arvin Textiles as a separate 2-ply yarn to go with it, and then having the rainbow yarn as the yarn I use to knit like the yoke of a sweater or like the top half of a sweater, and then use this for like the body and the sleeves, or basically I'll use the rainbow yarn until I run out essentially, and then use this for the rest of the sweater, or maybe stripe it with the rainbow yarn so it goes further. I don't know. The reason why I picked this is because I know I can easily get more of this yarn and it's natural colour, so it's not dyed. I don't have to worry about matching colours or anything like that. So that's the plan for this one. This one, again, is another bigger project because there's like 280 grams of fibre here. I think there's like 200 grams here. There's a lot of fibre to be spun just for this one project. So we'll see. And I'm kind of aiming more for like a DK, sport to DK weight with these ones, so it shouldn't take as long to spin as a fingering weight. But we'll see. I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are too. I hope you guys are looking forward to joining in with Fluff To Stuff if you are planning to. And yeah, let me know your plans and your goals and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, take care. See you again soon. Bye.